We have blown through the summer and now we are in the fall. Or if you're on the other side of the world, the spring. Early. Um, yeah. Between procrastination to life getting extremely busy, body not feeling really good, and having to be there in person for people. And so thankful I've been able to do that. I mean, really, if I look at everything, I can complain, And we all have got complaints, right? Life is not perfect. But thankfully, I'm still here. So this summer, I had a baby shower for my second granddaughter, and both sides of the family, my daughter and her husband's family, we worked together to throw a beautiful baby shower. Very sweet baby, blueberries and strawberries. And it's kind of different from the people that have the artistic eye to the people that don't. It all came together so beautifully. People put things up that I had designed, and I was having a lot of pain, a lot of great fatigue. I procrastinated on printing some things, just time to get it done because there's other things to do, and I'm ADHD, so it makes it difficult. So got some things printing out, doing that, and just kind of in that continual motion where I push myself too hard, and stress and having, that kind of thing with, being on Fosamax, which caused my esophagus to have a hard time swallowing. And I stopped the Fosamax, but oh my goodness, the GERD started coming. That stomach acid, I felt like I have a hiatal hernia, but I felt like I just have, a straight run up of stomach acid. It's back in the back of your throat, just kind of a sour taste and stomach acid. Well, new trick now is I can projectile vomit from it. Makes a problem with possible aspiration pneumonia. Just miserable, and it's so ugly and so embarrassing. So that happened at the shower. Awful. There's one picture of me there. And I probably should have left earlier than I did. And some people saw me throw up. I had a lot of compassion shown to me. So I had to move my GI doctor appointment because of grandbaby number 2. My poor daughter had, ineffective labor, or having a lot of real contractions during the last month of her pregnancy, and smaller ones, so she was just in pain. She was dilated and effaced, but her water didn't break, but they were kind of keeping the baby in as long as they could. So the day after my oldest birthday, which was August 2nd, I found this new service, and it's around the country, mainly in Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, across the Gulf Coast into Florida. But it was started in Austin, UT, for college students to go to, back to city, and a lot of college students use it. But it was, versus staying just under 3 weeks, like 18 days in Dallas area, from Houston, renting a car would have been like $1,200-$1,300. So $80 there, $80 back. That was pretty good, and that's with tip. I was happy. So, and I have people that love me enough to pick me up. I'm such a blessed woman. So I went, and this whole time, the whole time between that, from volleyball, supporting my youngest daughter, really having a hard time speaking out. And I think with all the pain and getting a little bit weaker, and, coming on to the anniversary of my first preliminary, we're about a month, about 3 weeks away from the confirmed diagnosis. 6 years ago, I was diagnosed with ALS. Being C9orf72 positive, it's a very rare thing for those of us to live this long. and to still like have emotions and empathy and not FTD symptoms. um, that scares me. My dad had behavioral onset FTD. So, you know, it's like I never want to do that to my family members. But, you know, on August 23rd, that came and passed. That was the day I was given my preliminary diagnosis. And I think some of my procrastination is I've had people I knew with ALS die, and you know, there's almost like a survivor's guilt for it. You know, it's like I'm still here. You know, I'm still able to walk even though it's janky, very stiff. My hips are getting weaker, and I think my low back is getting weaker, which is causing some problems. Everything's connected to everything down there. So when, you know, you're, excuse me, this may be a little bit TMI, but since someone with ALS may watch this as well as a woman, that your perineum, those muscles may get really tight, especially if you have spasticity, which can lead to some other problems, like if you projectile vomit. And I don't know. I mean, I have to look at spasticity being a gift in some ways because I'm extremely spastic, primarily being an upper motor neuron predominant ALS patient. I was lower motor neuron onset with a change of gait and my left foot being weaker. Now I have left foot drop. My right foot is dropping right along with it. It's just like it's instead of walking like that, your foot's down. So it's more shuffle, 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 shuffle. You pick things up on your feet and it's gross. I don't know. I mean, I have, thankfully, to CCALS, I have a travel wheelchair, electric, and I've been able to use that for longer walks or hospital visits, clinic visits. It's made a huge difference so I don't wear out so quickly. I still have my power chair, and luckily I'll have Houston Metro when I need it. I live within those areas that I can get a pickup. It's just, you know, getting done. So I had to get a new cane because I lost my other one, but this one's bigger. It's just for balance. In the house, if I'm not too spastic and I'm walking in areas where I know I'm safe, I don't use things. But some days I scare myself, you know, even getting up to say go to the bathroom. I have to do the PT exercises that I've learned to loosen my hips, my legs, to allow myself not to just, you know, walk just terrible. Because I scare myself, you know, I can fall real quick. I fell last week. I hang my legs to loosen my hips. I hang my legs over, and I was doing that because I have this terrible shooting, almost like sciatica pain that covers my right front thigh, goes into my groin, down to my knee. Painful. Oh my goodness, it's like having sciatica, but a greater area across your thigh. And the neurologist from my ALS clinic on Friday, this past Friday, she told me that, oh, you're genetic, right? And I said, yeah. C9. She's like, well, C9 patients usually don't live very long. I'm like, yeah, I know. I mean, I've had family members, I can tell you. Though I was the first one diagnosed with C9, my dad had behavioral onset FTD. They didn't know he was diagnosed and died before C9 or 72 was truly announced. And he was diagnosed in 2008 and died in 2010, 18 months. And my uncle Ken was really a hard person to get in. He didn't have the insight, so probably FTD symptoms. You know, when the frontal and temporal lobes are affected with behavioral onset, or even if they're not behavior, irritable, grouchy, the insight to look at yourself and look at your behaviors, or to understand greatly what's going on, can be difficult. Doesn't change their intelligence. Doesn't do that. It just, it's difficult. So he had thought he had a shoulder injury and couldn't lift his left arm. Finally, through time with the family, he got diagnosed with ALS. He went on a trip the weekend before he was going to get genetic testing with his ALS clinic. He died. And so when I, 6 years ago, noticed I was dropping things more, thought, it's just, you know, I'm a klutz. You know, I've always been kind of a klutz my whole life. I know how to fall like a stuntman. I found that out. Probably because I've been hurt so many times falling. My childhood. Child of the 70s, you know, Gen X. I drank the hose water, and oh my goodness, I'm so lucky I'm alive. Many times over. But, where was I going with that? So when I knew my gait changed, I knew that I needed to go to the doctor. Took me 3 months, and that was during my daughter's, you know, getting things ready for her wedding shower. Kind of funny, this year, 6 years later, baby shower, getting ready for my second grandchild. So, procrastination about making videos, you know, it's not, I think survivor's guilt, still walking, you know, I'm gonna be losing it, you know, I know. My hips are getting weaker. My lower back is weaker, which is causing me the pain. Even though it's mostly controlled, thankfully, palliative care was the way to go. It's supportive, so you can still make choices to continue to get aggressive treatment. Aggressive treatment with ALS. For Saudi, yeah, there's aggressive treatment. With Koya 302, that is going into the nearly, it's going to multiple sites. And I have hope for those that are sporadic ALS patients, but I have a very good feeling for those that are C9 patients and other ones that have inflammatory type genetic. I have hope. I think it's a treatment, an option, a true treatment option. Thanks to Dr. Appel and his team. It's been taken over by a pharmaceutical company now. But Dr. Appel and his T-Regs research truly, I think, is going to make a huge difference for those with FTD and also ALS and the combination thereof, and maybe even Parkinson's disease. There's a huge hope. I'm still here. 6 years later, I was on it for 15 months. My ALS FSR score was going down. It was like 30 into like, I think 28. Dr. Appel said, I want to try you on this. It changed my life. My last ALS it's a mouthful. ALS FR score, functional rating, was 35. It bounces based still on spasticity between 35, 36, 37. And I was spastic that day. I have to wear a CPAP. My breathing is really good. My diaphragm's strong. I'm doing things to help relax the pelvic floor, doing the diaphragmatic breathing, and you know, they tell me that. I'm like, yeah, well, my diaphragm still works, but that's been helping. Pranayama helps, just breathing and sitting in meditation, prayer. Um, I have noticed that I've been having more and creating more areas for if that sudden pressure, GERD vomiting happens, um, you know, nothing uncomfortable will happen after that. Just something. So I'm doing physical therapy for that. Yeah, they think that my pain is related to it's L1 or L2, L3. I have some bulging discs there. So hopefully physical therapy will help with that. Not strength training, not anything like that. But I don't know. I mean, physical therapy, which is great on my insurance, $35 each time I go. But that's $70 a week for 6 weeks. I mean, that's expensive. Groceries are expensive right now. Try to see if I can work it out. It's hard. But hopefully it eases off. You throw your back out. I'm a retired nurse. Never forget. In Texas, they have what they call, and they're not as common now, state schools, where they put children with this child whose parents gave custody up to the state school, had cerebral palsy, but they may have Downs, they may have other genetic differences, special needs children. So this child is now passed, but he was about 17 and looked like he was like 9, just a very small individual, had pneumonia. And he was very sweet with me. I mean, my heart just went out to him. As a mother, I can only imagine the situation you'd have to be in to give up custody of your child. And knowing how expensive some of the care is, it may have been, I can't afford it. Just like I'm going, oh, physical therapy, it's going to help me, but can I afford it? And people are doing that for medicine. People are doing that about, so many different things, around the world. The U.S. is just, with the tariff stuff, is stupid. Just stupid. It really makes me mad. Oh, make America great again. Yeah. Maybe have ideas 10 years ahead, but let's not piss off the rest of the world. And, oh, who's going to pay for that? Oh, us Americans? Stupid. What? I can't order things from the UK or Germany or other things because, they can't figure out the tariff stuff. I mean, stupid. I'm sorry, I'll say it. It's stupid. It's like members of cults. Just, yes, I am opinionated about that. I hope, and because I have comorbidities of diabetes and heart disease, ALS with having a potential weakened diaphragm, COVID would not be nice on. There's new variants. Last week, I'm not 65 yet. I'm going to have to argue to get my flu shot. Now, I have a new granddaughter. She's 3 weeks old. They have, anti-vax people in vaccine recommendations for children. And, go look at the children's cemeteries. We're going to have that happening. There's already, kids have died of measles in Texas. Do we need this to have this? I'm sure Florida. Do we need to have this happen again? These are contagious diseases. Measles, mumps, rubella. I have a hearing problem because I had mumps. My mother was one of those people that took you to the measles party, the chickenpox party, the mumps party. Well, you know what? I have a hard time hearing. They can't see what's going on, but it's mumps. Mumps cause partial deafness for me. I'm lucky I can hear. Yes, I listen to music louder because I had a hard time hearing it. I don't know. I mean, hell and high water, I have family on the West Coast. I will fly my granddaughter out to get her vaccines. My 13-year-old has asthma, so now she can't get a COVID update. Stupid. It's stupid. I'm sorry. Stupid. I'm thankful that Koya has been approved and is going into multiple clinical sites. And if you have ALS and you're under 3 years in, and ask them about the Koya 302. And if you're going to get on it, oral care is important. One of the components of this medication is going to be blended, can cause dry mouth. You want to make sure that, even though we have, those of us ALS have this lovely thing with having increased secretions, and you may even have that, but your mouth is dry. So take good care to make sure oral care is good, because that can happen. Your immune system's a little bit lower, so make sure that about shaving, you may want to clip. Be careful of your skin. Take care of yourself. But I really think that is going to be an effective treatment for C9. I know, because it took me from in the 20s, and I'm still in the 30s. I was going out there. Dr. Appel and his team prolonged my life. I believe in the Koya 302. I'm still breathing, and I'm C9 org at 72, 6 years. I was on it for 15 months. I'm still here. Proof in the pudding. So this summer, got things ready, did the shower, got embarrassed that I threw up during the shower. Oh my, it was lovely. I wish I had more pictures. There's one picture of me with it, I threw up on my best friend. So terrible. And she's OCD, really the cleanest person. It's like, oh my goodness, and she was kind about it. So, from there, it was, volleyball, during the summer, and had to get my, now 8th grader. Oh my God, she's going to go to high school next year. She's taking an art class that counts in high school. Goodness. So, clothes, it's like, especially with all of the, I wanted to make sure she had some shorts, and that, I knew the tariffs were going in, so I ordered some stuff, and then starting to, on a fixed budget, long-term retirement, and which is reduced because I get Social Security disability. So blessed. After my dad's behavioral FTD, just realizing that things can change that fast. I paid for every little extra insurance I could. I'm so glad I did. I didn't do the long-term care disability. And by the time I knew I might need it, I had already had genetic testing, and they asked about that, and they would reject me. You are not eligible. GINA, which in the United States protects, or has protected, who knows, of this crazy Make America Healthy Again. Yeah, the food dyes I agree with. Everything else, conspiracy theory and non-science-based stuff, they can fly off the cliff, according to me. They've hurt a lot of research. They have pushed a lot of research to other countries. It's embarrassing as an American. But I'm glad Koya 302 is going through. And I'm thankful that for all the other countries that produce the medicines. I am grateful for all the other countries. Please, as an American, I apologize. And I didn't vote for the person, but I apologize for all this crazy making stuff. But those that like to grift, like to make crazy, don't pay attention to it, because it'll just drive you crazy. So this summer, excited about my granddaughter coming. getting my youngest ready for school, and everything she needed, all her supplies, all her clothes, you know, all those little things, because it was scary. And it did happen on August 2nd, the day after my oldest birthday. Um, she started going into what sounded like labor, so much dilated, effaced, thought it could happen. So I used Hitch. Hitch, it's a app here in Texas. It went national. I don't know if it's still national. It's along the Gulf Coast to Florida a lot. But it was started in Austin for college kids to get to different cities. Now you can't, truly get across the country with it, but you can get from city to city, which is great because, Texas and the eminent domain they use. There's a lot of people that are in land or farmers that don't want the bullet train. I would love that because I could just toss over to see my daughter, my grandkids, toss back that evening, 90 minutes there, 90 minutes back. That would be so lovely. I was really hoping for that. But no, a longer drive. It was interesting. I mean, I like talking to different people. So, talking to some people, some young kids that graduated, the market is not as great. My son-in-law had to change jobs, that kind of whole situation. Thank goodness he's found a wonderful job. He was able to be there for his wife. Um, so up there, trying to be there for support, but not interfering. But millennials and Zers, I'm Gen X. And raised by true boomers. They cared more about themselves than they did the kids. But we had really harsh, or at least I did, correction. I don't think I was as harsh. Second time probably less, a little bit harsher for my oldest. But this gentle parenting, and those that look at gentle parenting, which is great. I mean, you should acknowledge your child's feelings, but there's got to be boundaries. And you don't reason with a child that's having a fit. Acknowledge they may be feeling that, but you don't keep talking because it's going to create this bounding and bounding and bounding more. So, I mean, I'm sure my parents said something with the way I raised my children. So dealing with a 4.5-year-old that's getting a sibling, that's going to, pandemic baby, that's going to have to share the stage. Oh, she's such a good big sister. So sweet to her little sibling. So proud to be a big sister. But 4.5 with the fits. And she's hyperactive, which, she earned it. I'm hyperactive ADHDer. Her aunt, my youngest, is. Her mother's just inattentive. Her father, I'm not sure what form he has, but there is ADHD throughout the family, so she earned it. Working with her with little things, with, writing letters, nice little forms. Recognizing that hyperactivity, trying to get it through. You just wish you could take that energy and take those battery. Especially, it's like, I find that inside of me, I will pull up this energy to be there, to be functional, to be there, to be functional, to be there, to be functional. And oh my goodness, my oldest kept having people come stay, and she had such a comfortable bed for her guests, and they would always want to overstay their stay. And I told her, no, your guest bed needs to be a little bit hard, a little bit uncomfortable. You don't want people to stay too long. Well, there I was for almost 3 weeks, and she did get an uncomfortable bed. And I'm just basically, the way ALS has affected my body. Now, I did a lot of sculpting of my makeup, but I don't know if you can tell. This side of my face is, the muscles have atrophied, and it's different than the lift on this side. But I think I did my makeup pretty good. I don't think you can tell. I have a little loss of muscle in my hand, but the way my body keeps functioning up is, it's hard. So my body's just spastic, just hard muscles. And sometimes it'll pull, cramps, but I'm just basically tight. Everywhere is tight. Tight on hard is not good. Tight with a child jumping on you. It's like you want every little moment of that. They're so precious. I miss hearing Bluey. I miss, I had a daughter when, a young one, when the Frozen movies are coming out. So I could, and it's a great one for sisters, but I can get on with it. I really don't want to hear, oh, I can't. I already did it. But, she's just so cute. And just the imagination play. And, oh, kid has a good imagination. And she's just brilliant, just really smart. Just a good little girl, but, oh my goodness. Getting my time out, but, 1 minute per age. I hold my boundaries. She was shocked. Later, she was going, had my stick. I'm Oma. Don't you do this. Don't, no, this, that. It's like, oh, I didn't talk like that, baby. I wasn't mean. I think it's just, learning that Oma isn't going to cater to fits. Nope. I'm a little too tough. And I'm loving, and I will love you to pieces. I will go, I'll give you a kidney and, walk more than 500 miles. I will do, well, I can't now. Let's be realistic. I have ALS. But I'll do as much as I can. I'm one of those people that have been described as a hurricane. Not like, I have my nephew, Gen Z, bought a house, and it's near what should be hurricane, but they call it hurricane. It's hurricane. Learn how to pronounce hurricane. From someone from the Gulf Coast, Texas, we get them. So I'm so proud of him. He's moving next week. Oh, goodness. So was in there, but new baby came. Have a picture of me, pictures with me and my grandchildren. I have 2 grandchildren. And, for their privacy, I'm not saying their names. The smiles my granddaughter was making of her little sister. My daughter, and my grandson, It's just, going from 1 to 2 is hard. And both her and her husband, like, we need someone here for the oldest. It's like, okay, I was there because y'all might be in the hospital having a baby. She need to be watched. But y'all are parents. It's a big job. You have to learn, people have to work. People have to stay home. Other people may work, may get daycare. Not this early, 3 weeks, but, parenting is hard. Going from 1 to 2 is an adjustment. It takes 4 to 6 months. Prayers for my daughter and my son-in-law learning to have 2. And I have one that just turned 13. So, little hitched on back. And, so the hitch driver was a retired sheriff from coastal city south of Houston. And I, told him, different parts of Houston changed after Katrina. This is one of those areas that's going through changes, and there's a lot of fentanyl addicts there, homeless. And as we're coming in, this one guy's walking, and he's got this, and he's walking thing. One lady's walking her socks, going back and forth across traffic. I'm like, see, the zombies. Thankfully, my husband and my daughter were waiting, with a donut for me. And got home, it was nice. And getting into a soft bed. But the nightmare of the L2, L3 back pain referred pain to my right thigh had already started. Soft bed helped, but I had tried to start to wean myself off gabapentin, talked with palliative about getting me put on Lyrica instead, but this thing is just terrible. I mean, just terrible. I have some pain medication, but the pain has been waking me up, like last night 3 times. Fell asleep with headphones on, listening to someone talk, and it stuck on one thing, and that got in my dream. And I woke up, and my youngest was talking to her friends. You know, they like to play games together. It's like they don't hang out as much in person all the time. Mall culture, park culture, it's Texas, even in September, even with a cold front, it's like, feels like 98 and it's like, 95. It can feel like 110. It's hot. And these kids like to wear all these. Okay. Back in the day, people in Texas and across the southern area were dressing like, the grunge ones. Well, you wore socks, you wore jeans, you wore all this stuff and all the extra things that you do in the Pacific Northwest because it's flipping cold there, right? Yeah, weather's been a little bit weird up there, to my family up there. But you'd have people wearing all that stuff, flannels and all that stuff down here in the summer. These kids, my daughter's like wearing all this stuff, it's like the hoodie and all that. Now I am perimenopausal and I don't wear sleeveless things because I am not proud of my upper arms. I got my grandma's upper arms. I look like my grandma and I got the upper arms, which I was like, no. But who knows? I'm blessed to have all the grandmas I had, all the grandpas I had. Even if I have a genetic form of ALS, you can't think about how many grandparents and how many sets of grandparents you have. And every little good thing you have, you've been blessed with, that whatever higher power or not that you believe in, it's just a blessing. It's like, cool thing. So we had gone on a trip with my best friend. We did a mini vacation down in South Padre, Texas. And I know why Dodge wanted to kill the national parks. Half of that island is national park because it has a high salinity. High salinity. And there's there's a pod of like 300 long bottlenose dolphins. And the boats out there, South Texas, Cameron County is the poorest county in Texas. That's saying a lot. And the people, the tourism. But that part of the thing, that Bay of Caboolture, the water's it's hitting forward. So that whole thing goes 6 to 8 feet. There's just waves out there. So these dolphins are just in 6 to 8 feet. And I saw SpaceX. It's a 2-story building, not that huge, and you see the rocket launcher. And like Mexico's suing them because that area, wreckage went down a little bit from Brownsville, South Padre. And I'm thinking about every time those rockets go off, are they causing PTSD in those poor dolphins? And what kind of chemicals within that is going into the water there and into those poor little dolphins? And it's a major sea turtle place. And that salinity on the national park, which is rare across the world, well, you just lay off some of those national park people. It doesn't matter what chemicals you put in or where you want to build your stuff. Let's just do some eminent domain and throw some seniors that retired out of their houses. Yeah, I am really not happy. They're going into Bastrop, and that's another area to build for SpaceX. And I don't know what else. And there's also aquifers there that give a lot of Texas water. Um, isn't it played over and over and over again for those that don't know history? And we're going back through robber barons. We're back in that. Yeah, they talk about being back in the 1930s. Yeah, I mean, we had my daughter's 13th birthday. And of course, you know, it's happening. We knew I was 37 when I had her. So I knew when she was becoming a teenager, I'd be going through menopause. And with my daughter, with the major pregnancy hormones, all of the change of the job and all that stuff happening, you know, the instability. But it'll be okay. Everything changes. You can't worry too much. You just keep applying to jobs. And it worked, right? And you pray, you meditate, you try to stay centered, and you trust. Everything changes. Things did work out, but I had to stretch so much in August and just grow. I mean, you know, struggle and it's not comfortable, but you grow. And I grew. And I didn't throw a fit. I didn't get angry. I didn't yell. Mm-mm, mm-mm. But my daughter had her friends over. And you know how sometimes three don't play well together? You know, a little competitiveness. I had to say, you're not saying that, you're not doing that. That's not right to your friend. And then she thanked me because I got that, you know, she wanted a record player for her birthday. As an audiophile, as a major music lover, you know, throughout my life, music is what helped save me through my teenage years with a difficult time. Music, my life is by soundtrack. For her to want a record player and vinyl, Now her big sister got her the double album she wanted, and I had Billie Eilish's Eyes, you know, got her the record set, so, you know, it would all go together, that ADHD thing, you know, and got her that she loves her favorite songs. One of her favorite songs is Joan Jett's Bad Reputation. We saw Joan Jett live with her. I think I might worry about that. But she really loves Joan Jett, and she likes Smashing Pumpkins. You know, she wears a lot of the shirts she's picked are Smashing Pumpkins, so everything's coming out on vinyl again. And so got her Siamese Twins, or Siamese Dreams, sorry. And got her, what else did we get her? Oh, the new I can't say it, Filipino artist. B-do-b-b, was it tomorrow morning, something like that. One of the most, I saw her with my niece and Katya, named after me, just in Polish, or German, it's in German. Yeah, did the ancestor DNA, I am 48% German, 48.9, which makes sense. I always said I was mostly German, but I'm a North American mutt, and I truly am. So the horrible thing is, you know, started the summer, and that kind of makes, you know, this difficult summer. You know, I got this letter because I've been very active on, not necessarily in the ALS. You know, there's people like the ALS support unit, you know, different ones that do things that have gotten, yes, Snap to Cure, and those that have used their voice to their representatives in Congress and pushed for the benefits that we have. You know, now when I was diagnosed 8 or 6 years ago. I had to wait 6 months, and I was audited. Do you really have ALS? Well, apparently I really have ALS. I've seen 3 ALS teams, and they all agree. But now, when you get diagnosed with ALS, I waited 6 months, and I'm glad I had a job, had short-term, long-term disability, and I was able to make it through. It's it's an expensive disease. ALS is extremely expensive. Like I was talking about the physical therapy, we're just not talking about medicines. Now, if you get ALS, if you're diagnosed, and if you are just recently diagnosed, my heart goes out to you, because it is a mind so it takes a lot. When you get diagnosed with a terminal disease, it's scary because you don't know what the future is, and it changes your life. Like I said to my oldest and her husband, things change, and it can change to the worst, it can change to the better. Things will just change. So life changes, and there's different times life changes: birth, marriage, divorce, everything, having children. Life changes. Disease, I got diagnosed with diabetes, knew I was going to get it because half my dad's, out of my grandfather's 13 Catholic. I think it's something that I know of 8 were. Out of my dad's 9, 7 are. And I'm the oldest grandchild from that side. I was 42 when I was 43 when I was diagnosed with diabetes. And I kind of went rapid. That's what my doctor said. Onto insulin. Pancreas said, okay, here. And then after having my youngest, my heart started going awful, but that's also my family history. My aunt had the same thing, and she had a second child after having that, and she got life-flighted. I survived. I was lucky that it's right around the time I had an inheritance, and here in the United States, which is only happening more and more under this administration, insurance companies are making obscene profits for their people that are, their shareholders. Insurance should not be, BlackRock shouldn't be owning a bunch of properties people are renting in, or owning houses that people are renting. They shouldn't be in, investors in insurance. And I don't think, honestly, as a nurse, I only worked for non-for-profits. I did work for some agencies at times, but I only worked in non-for-profits, one shift in a for-profit owned by doctors hospital. And it was the weirdest thing. Everyone went around, and the wheel of where the doctor's orders, it was all about the doctor's orders. Call lights would go off, something like that. Me, definitely you check doctor's orders. And that was when, last night when I was waking up and I had the thing, I had a dream I was back nursing. And someone was checking, oh, you need to put that on. I'm like, oh, they're checking on me. They're trying to verify. Oh, I don't want to have a tag on my back. I've been seeing a lot of stuff talking about nursing stuff that's going on. My heart's go out to you, nurses. I don't think, I'm a retired nurse. I always wanted to help people from 4th grade. My great-grandmother was a nurse during the Spanish flu. She was a midwife. Nursing, changed me. It's kind of like going in the military. You basically get changed. You're still who you are, but it changes you as a person. Each person I was gifted to be able to help as a nurse made a huge change, but I was a patient advocate. I believe that you shouldn't profit over healthcare. Yeah, you need to be paid. You should be paid. You're risking your life and limb. And, my lower back issues are definitely a deal. It's like, it's from nursing. I can remember the patient and what happened when my back got first injured. And that's the part that anytime I move, that one little area, it happens again. Little boy from a state school, yeah, had a caregiver from the state school, and he was just so little. For 17 years old, bad pneumonia, looked like a 9-year-old, maternal me. Oh, just one thing. He had such a bad pneumonia. His parents had given him up, healthcare, it's expensive. And, he was down at the end of the bed, working in one of the units. You have to kind of get them up, open, help them breathe. And we were busy that night. Our PCAs were all, it was just bopping night. So I looked at he's little, but, just make sure, it's like, do you know how to reposition patients? Oh, yeah. So I said, we're going to do it 1, 2, 3. We're going to lift them up. I'm going this way. Person goes this way. Woo! Back. And it was 2 days before we were going to Disney. Oh my God. Oh my God. It was good that I was at Disney. I mean, it hurt, but all the walking you do help those muscles relax. It was special with my dad. My oldest daughter, I have 2 pictures of my oldest daughter and my youngest daughter around the same Bodhi tree in Animal Planet, or Animal World or whatever that is. Part of Disney. It's really cool. There is a little place between Asia and Africa. There's one of the little places that does the orange sherbet stuff, the Dole whips. In that place, you get a little extra. You can get a Dole whip with a little rum. Oh my God, delicious. Nadzieja, it's hope, Polish name. Nadzieja means hope. Was born that day. We were there. And that was after I got diagnosed with ALS. We went, to go to Disney for Emma and get all the pictures. I'm still here, and my husband's best friend died 5 years ago. Aneurysm. How many people died during COVID? Had one of the drivers on Hitch was like, well, I worked in a prison during that time, and they got it, but no one died. I don't know about those coolers they had. People I worked with, they had coolers. They had the trucks out there, semis, refrigerated, lots of bodies stacked up. People that nurses, when I was in the clinical trial in the hospital, talked with them. A lot of them have PTSD. My mother, my COPD mother, asthma that caused COPD. Yeah, we live in Southeast Texas. Pollution. She's from South Texas. Pollution. I always said that she was the canary. And COVID killed her. Going in, and that was thankfully, there was a hospice that would take her inpatient. And going into that world, they allowed me in. How many people didn't get to see their families during COVID when they were hospitalized, They're lucky if a nurse held up a phone, FaceTime to say goodbye. I was able to go in and, say all the prayers that she'd want, say all the prayers and the meditations I want. She got to FaceTime, family members got to FaceTime or just talk to her, to make sure she got the say goodbyes. I don't know. Everyone's on their death. When they die, they're on their own journey. I was a hospice nurse towards the end of my career and mid of my career. Yeah, you work ER, you work cardiology, you work the units. You see somehow you never want to die. Um, and you see things that people survive. It's like, if it's your time, it's your time. If it's not your time, you never know what can happen. It's amazing, But after seeing and working in CCU and ICU, we had a couple patients that were brain dead and families that, were suing to keep them alive. And just smelling and all of that, and just really hard. I remember I was working EDOU, kind of like a almost intermediate IMU for ED units that had the first cardiac enzymes that were negative. They're watching, or if they were overdoses or psych patients that need to be cleared, or the kids that this is before the fentanyl crisis that's going on now, that would take too many pills, that we'd have to give them lovely, lovely drugs to absorb. I can never remember telling a 14-year-old, well, you just have to take it like a shot. And she knew what that was. That's so horrible. Very spoiled child saying that you need to drink this, otherwise you could have a seizure. Well, wouldn't drink it. Didn't taste good. Mommy didn't make her drink it, and she had a seizure. Poor child. Kids at school mixing medicine. Let's have this. We're going to do this together. Bad idea. Talk to your children. Be close to your children. Keep them close. They matter. That's part of your story. And you don't have a right to who they are, but you have the responsibility to be the support to who they are and who they will become. You teach your children to be independent, but during that time, you got to be close. So during that, anyways, just parental advice. Sorry, my duty is on. I'm still working to get out of it. Yeah, I'm a parent to a 13-year-old. But I was saying about her birthday party. Well, anyways, about that, it's like, so hospice was something that I did, and in the time of not a pandemic, there's, families got to talking. Sometimes families don't, and when people die, people get weird. Some of the worst and meanest things happen to families when people die. It's like a lot of the dynamics, a lot of families that were abusive, families that had terrible communication. That doesn't change when people are dying. It's like I've never seen people get so greedy when people die. So thankful my family's not that way. But it was nice to be able to give my mom that. And, kept her pain comfortable. My sister saw her. My stepfather had seen her the day before in ICU. He was the one person that could go in. But seeing all that, I mean, she died, people died of it. It's not the only one that I know died. Some survived. Like I said, I have a video on the onset of it. Some will die, most will survive, and we'll get on with it. Now we're getting on with it. I just hate it. I have to argue to get the vaccine. My 13-year-old can't get it. She has asthma. I will go see some family. Take a flight, bring my daughter, bring my granddaughter if they need. They're going to not let children, anti-vaxxers writing the potential recommendations from the CDC of what, children should get. No. I am opinionated. But, got stressed. I don't know if I made a video about it. I probably didn't. I told everyone I know. I got this letter from the state, it was in June. My birthday's in November. Now, as you can tell, I'm opinionated. I have a shirt saying I will not be known as a woman that kept her mouth shut. No, that's not my thing. I'm a public speaker. And seriously, I go out and tell my stories. And as a gun violence survivor, I'm not I will be, stand up and thing like a Koya 302. Wonderful. It has prolonged my life. 15 months on it. I'm still alive 2 years later. I'm still pretty much, not great, um, but not horrible. I mean, I can walk, I can talk, I can breathe, and I have C9 or 72's ALS. 6 years in. It's pretty amazing. Caught me right before I was going off the cliff, and it put me back, and I'm continuing. It works. I was skeptical. I did not like the nausea it caused me. I didn't realize that the dry mouth would affect my teeth that way. Getting on it during a pandemic was kind of difficult. But I'm very grateful and how can you say thank you to having a pause and improvement in your life when you have a younger child, when your oldest is having children, to being able to be a mother, a wife, a friend, a sister, an aunt, an advocate. All of what I do, thank you. Thank you to Dr. Pell and all the doctors that work with him, and for the staff of the pharmaceutical company that are running Koya 302. I know it makes a difference. Thank you for continuing on and getting this product out. And for all those that are going on to that journey, I wish you the best, and please take care of your oral care, okay? It's exciting. It's really exciting. I mean, Saudi has a treatment. Saudi 1 has a treatment. For everyone that's sporadic, hopefully there's treatments and it becomes a livable disease versus just a terminal disease where the other shoe can fall off. So, I got this letter from the state of Texas. I have gone down and, I have called out Dan Patrick. I have, on bills, especially after, Uvalde, and when my dad had behavioral onset of his FTD, he had an arsenal, and there's no laws that would help me back then, and that was in 2008. Still in 2025, those gun manufacturers that, make lots of guns, they announced after Uvalde, they have to have an NRA convention anytime like after that. And, there's school children dead, 4th graders, same age as my daughter, same little awards that my daughter got. A shooter went in on credit, age 18. They lowered the age on credit to AR-15s and killed children and teachers. I've held the pictures of the teachers. I have familiar parents. I've sat down next to the parents of Uvalde. I have been in touch and talked to other parents of Uvalde. I've tried to help. I can't. I'm only one person. I can only do so much. Trying to touch other people to get the system and hopefully help for those that get into, the Everytown Survivor Fellows, or the Everytown, not even the fellows. Being a fellow is, choosing to advocate, and no gun violence survivor should be required to do that. your experience, your story is your story. Even with ALS, your experience, your story is your story. No one should force you to say anything. If you want to say something, that's okay. But especially for gun violence, being a survivor is difficult. But I've said my words, especially as a parent of a child with dyslexia, as someone with ALS, I have said what I've said, and I will stand up, and, I'll call people out. I saw a veteran that had that same, they were talking about, THC for Texas, and, the different things that are happening. I'm on the medical marijuana. One thing Abbott has done, and I don't have a positive, thought of him. This extremism in Texas, what's happening in the country is happening in Texas. We have a non-voting state. People think that their votes don't matter. People are disconnected. And that's how you get some of this stuff happening. We still have the hemp THC. We still have the compassionate care program. But this veteran called out, "And Dan Patrick." And I thought, oh my goodness, they're going to have the same problem I had. So I get this letter, and it's a threatening letter, and I can't find the letter. I don't know if it's probably on top of the fridge somewhere and I can't see it. But it said, the state of Texas does not have a record of your Social Security number. If you cannot provide that or birth certificate, you can be deported. I thought, not only have I gone to Washington, been through the Capitol Police, the Secret Service, lost some set of these rings, I had to replace them. I've been a nurse in the state of Texas. The police, including worked at the VA for a period of time, my fingerprints are in Quantico, right? It's like, and they're in the state of Texas. The state of Texas Nursing Board, they have my fingerprints. I always thought, well, for me, it's good if someone killed me, they'd, be able to identify me by fingerprints, right? Of course, I'm a nurse, you can wash your hands so much, it's like, it's habit. I still wash my hands, but my fingerprints are not as evident as they were when I was younger from all the hand washing. Wash your hands a lot if you're a criminal. I'm just joking. But they said that, and that just, the idea of being deported and that threatening language of that letter, I'm not fully saying what was on that letter. Gabapentin has taken some of my graceful speech away. But it was basically, we do not have a record of your Social Security number, and we needed a copy of that and your birth certificate. And if you can, or it was basically, they didn't say anything about the birth certificate, I lied. It said about your Social Security number, and you need to come in office. You cannot renew online, and you risk being deported. And I am mostly German, but I'm a North American mutt. I have family the family that was indigenous. I have family that came from Spain, and a family that came from, all areas of Germany. I had families that came from, I was surprised, but I did find them, of Irish and of Scottish and of English. And I have a family member that was on the Mayflower. I have a family member that was, given land by the king of Spain. I have indigenous family. I'm mutt. I'm a mixed up mutt. And family has fought in every war of the United States, and part of the Revolutionary War was fought on a hill that was given the wrong name. Battle of Bunker Hill was on Breed's Hill, and half of that was on our family's thing. On both sides of my family were in the Revolutionary War, all the way down to this latest, Iraq. I still have active family members. And no, I was not in the military. I was a nurse. I worked at the VAs for some. I was a child of the military, a Marine brat. With my political activity, with as loud as I am about, working against, the gun manufacturers, those people. And after Citizens United, I have a sticker, a bumper sticker that I put on a cooler I have to bring drinks around. And it says, "I will not believe a corporation is a citizen until Texas executes one." Well, they take money, different political campaigns. Ken Paxton, Dan Patrick, Gregory Abbott, John Cornyn, Ted Cruz. There's many people that take a lot of money. Now, anyone on any party will take money. I happen to be an independent. I do not ascribe to a political party. But I'm loud. And, during standing up at the protest Uvalde, I got heat sick. I missed the Proud Boys. I came back. I supported a survivor that was sharing her story. I met another fellow that was from Houston area. It was from Georgia. It was a beautiful thing. It ended up being a beautiful thing. Difficult because he saw abject, the boogaloo people, the extremists, the people that came that are part of the various paramilitary groups. One man that was a little bit shorter than me says, "I have a gun. You're not going to attack me, are you?" I'm thinking, why do you think I'd want to attack you to begin with? Mindset, right? And at that, after Uvalde, after the pain of our communities, blood, children's blood, teachers' blood, just holes the size of an AR-15 is like that big, through little fourth graders' bodies. You know what they announced? One of the gun manufacturers announced, and this is for general citizens. It's not for just military. They announced they had a new AR-15 type gun that could cross 2 football fields and pierce bulletproof armor. So, U.S. Gun manufacturers that we can't sue yet, and current administration, who gives you money, you still want that money, right? The NRA is got some dark money, from Russia, they really want to be our friends, I hope Mexico wins with their lawsuits, and I hope they win over the stuff from, the poor little dolphin trauma things, with the poisoning of the water there. It's just ugly. I don't know. We're in unprecedented times, and all of this happening. Get back home. My 13-year-old, thank you, Mom. She stood with the picture. Her aunt had sent her a Amazon box for you're 13 years old. If you see that box, that was an awesome box, very personal. She took it. She got a little mug that says 13 and fabulous. She took that to school. She held up the little sign. Loved all the CD or the LPs. Her sister got her the Billie Eilish one. So happy. The little record player and holds a record player, a little, what would you call that, side table, and has slots for the records. Billie Eilish's eyes have been looking at me because she has in the living room to really take the sound out, and her eyes have been following me when I go back and forth. Oh, such a crooner. But first song she played was Joan Jett. I mean, the way that child lit up when she saw her live. I've taken her to Dave Matthews. I've taken her to see Sublime. I've taken her to see other things. It was Joan Jett she really wanted to see. My husband really likes Joan Jett, trying to get him to realize what cherry bomb means. But she likes bad reputation. Okay, be who you are, baby. You are born to be who you are. Now, you better do things legal. But I did everything legal, and Texas was threatening to deport me. And I know I have been loud, and I have not used curse words, and I have been direct. And, if you believe in God, I have been a witness to my uncle's suicide, to domestic violence and guns, and to mental illness and guns, and the dangers that can imply without having a red flag law or extreme risk protective order. I see things that happen over and over again, that if we had that and people were aware, there wouldn't be so much blood on the ground. Look at all the stories that come out of Texas and the South where money has been exchanged, thanks Citizens United. It's in our Constitution. Passed under Bush 2, was going through and confirmed when Obama was there, but it wasn't something he did. And that entered dark money into our politics. And this is what happens. Christian nationalism's at an all-time high. And if you speak out, you can get threatened to be deported. They are going after the birthright thing, so I don't know where they'd send me. Probably end up in Siberia or who knows? I don't know. I'd run across the border. Say, please, please, please take me. When you have ALS, not many people would want you, That's the sad part in this kind of situation. You start seeing this stuff going on, I am diseased. I'm not contagious, but, I'm not extremely rich. And like everyone else, struggling with the gas prices, struggling with the grocery prices, struggling with the medication prices. Life is difficult. Thanks, tariffs. Stupid. Wish I could get my German vitamins, but they're under $800, Can't necessarily do that, Oh my goodness. Anything I really like, something that was, from, a lot of things on Etsy, little things like I got the little sign for the baby shower that was so important, something my daughter really wanted, sent me from Pinterest. I got the same sign. That was from Eastern Europe, Latifa. All these little businesses, what's going to happen to them? What about our country's little businesses, There's going to be reverse things. What about India? Whoever hurt India? I mean, yeah, Pakistan, they have their arguments. Thankfully, they're not at war right now. But they make a lot of our medicines, a lot of our vaccines. I have no problem with India. I have no problem with most countries. I'm just a person. But I had my mouth open, so I was living with stress, knowing, what my state government would think about my positions and being in power, who's in power and what Congress is in power. I'm just one of those pesky little people, I said the same things that veteran. And Dan Patrick. I'm thinking, oh, great. So I go. I had, because I was going to get my name officially changed. I didn't do it fast enough. Administration's changed. I have a different name. My parents changed my name because of a racial issue. You know, Marie versus Maria. And they wanted to put, you know, I thought that was going to be a boy. You know, it'd be Tony or Anthony. But they just used their mother's middle names. And I'm proud to have the names I have. But I have my mom asked me at age 7 what I wanted my name to be. So I liked, you know, my 3 sons, and I picked Katie. I go by Kate now. But, so I have, my first name is different. It is a longer name than that. But I have, you know, Marie Beatrice. Now that both parents died, you know, since I am that with my exact name, you know, it's difficult from the state to get it. And New Mexico state isn't like other states. You have to go to the court and you have to get the embossed letters from that particular court. You know, New Mexico's, you know, had a lot of research that was done. That's why my family was there, you know, Los Alamos. But I got those copies. I had those copies with the embossed letter. I brought the Social Security card because my letter said Social Security card. They're more interested in my birth certificate. Now, they didn't take the name change papers. They just took my birth certificate, which has half my name on it. So they could still come after me for that. But I have the embossed letters from the court, which is what's required to get your name changed or get a passport renewed or even one. So I was able to get a new license. But on the back saying, come and take it, they can take it. I have ALS, you know. How long can I actually drive? As long as my hands, my legs work. I don't know. My 13-year-old daughter, you know, apparently she can get an ID. So I need to get her an ID, not just carry a birth certificate. Fear. They will try to get you. They'll try to get you by a chain. And they will show you all these different things, you know. All, you know, try to scare you. I'm not scared. You know, I'm accepting. I can't change everything. I can only do small steps and do them with love, with compassion. I have empathy, but it's compassion. And, you know, it's hurting. It hurts to see what's going on in the world. It hurts to see what's going on in Gaza, what's going on in the Ukraine. This weekend, I had ALS clinic, and my husband had to work, so I had to go by myself. And they're like, oh, we haven't seen him. It's like, yeah, well, he had to work. And went and saw us, particularly doing my breathing tests, good. Physical therapy, oh, your weeks are thin, or your hips are weak or thin, right? It's like, yeah, I mean, when I walk, you know, it's almost like I think my body, it's just in motion because that's what it needs. It knows what to do. It's like, you know, it's getting weaker, but it's still in motion, especially at night. I noticed that it's like, you know, it's like it's gonna not be able to do that, and it struggles to keep doing it. You know, it's like my nursing school, the nursing theory was Dorothea Gabapentin. Self-care. Dorothy Wortham. I can't think, I'm not saying it right. So use it until you lose it, you know. Based on encouraging people you teach them how to care for themselves. Dorothea Orem, that's it. I hate how that happens. And seriously, when I was tapering off the gabapentin, oh my goodness, my mouth worked. The words came freely. And now, because of this damn pain, and it's partially controlled. Oh my God, if I didn't have the gabapentin or the Tylenol number 4, I would be, I can't even go to the ER in pain. Now there's this whole movement. Doctors, the pharmaceutical companies, help support medical schools. The whole, like coming into town and there's the fentanyl, Kensington, other places in the world, homeless people, all the drugs people try to do to numb themselves, things that the cartels and, China is not our friend. Not that people are nice, just the CCP. They're not even nice to their own people. But being in a small population of, they're doing surgeries and giving people Tylenol. They're having people that have the mommy makeovers and giving Tylenol and Motrin to. Ouch. I am almost 51 years old. I have never been an addict. I don't even drink, maybe once or twice a year. Yes, I do have medical marijuana, but I barely ever use that. I'm going to get the one that has the CRBG or the CRG, that's been shown to reduce inflammation and helpful for ALS. I'll do that, but, I don't want something that's going to chill me out and totally knock me out. I don't want something to knock me out, but god damn, I'm dying. Take care of my pain. ALS is a painful disease. They say, oh, it's not so painful. Lies. Some forms of ALS probably are more painful than others. I got told when I was diagnosed, you're going to hurt. It's going to be very, 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 very bad. It's going to be very, very bad. Drink quinine water. Always worry about your diaphragm. Pain clinics make money on you. Let's give you this shot, that shot, this shot. My whole body is hard. My whole body, all my muscles are hard. I have spasticity. I'm on 80 milligrams of baclofen a day. And no, you're not going to put a baclofen pump in me and cause my progression to get worse and kill me off quicker. Those shots, those things coming back every month, they put me on Suboxone. The Koya, one of the medicines, the Koya caused dry mouth, which caused me to lose teeth. But apparently the Suboxone has Narcan in it, so you can't overdose. And the drug is an opiate receptor thing. They call it, it's a scheduled drug. Well, it should be. But it made me puke my toenails up the 2 times I took it. And, it's to replace 150 milligrams of morphine. I have only, in my life, had half milligram to 1 milligram morphine. I don't need morphine currently. Now, when I'm dying, damn straight, you better offer it to me. What are we going to do? Let dying people just suffer? We're going to just go back? There's been a long history with opiates used with humans. Not everybody gets addicted. Oh, you have surgery and you're given an OxyContin thing. Oh, you're not going to take a Cedactics. If you use pain medicine when you're in pain, you have a significantly less chance of being addicted. Now, if you're just taking it to take it, yeah, if you're just taking it to avoid life, yeah, or you just think, I don't want to take it. No, you don't take pain medicine inappropriately. That's a big thing. And if you are a doctor sharing a story like that, if you're a nurse sharing a story like, oh, no, I'm so strong, I don't have to take pain medicine. No, some people do. And I don't wish my pain on anybody. I don't. But if I'm in pain, if my diaphragm's working, even if it's not working, don't let me suffer when I'm dying. And please, I'm going through this process. I shouldn't have to suffer like this. Now, I am suffering, but it's slightly taken care of. It's not as bad, but I'm waking up in pain. Oh my God, nerve pain is something else. It's still, even if you touch it, my thigh hurts. Awful, awful, awful. And it's all low back. So, that's not pleasant. I'm sorry, y'all. It's, We're all going through it, right? But things change, you know. It's going to be a full moon tonight, too. So maybe it's full moon. Woo! Blood moon. Um, so, been hurting. You know, it's kind of like, okay, you know, have a positive appointment later this week. Got an order for physical therapy. I'll have to work it out to what I can afford. You know, it's like I have a hard time doing my leg back. I am a stiff person. I am not as coordinated as I used to be. I still do gentle yoga. Otherwise, I would be a locked up person. You know, it's like you still have to, if you don't move when you're spastic, you know, you'll get locked up. And I can't do that. I mean, I can't live with that kind of pain either. But I'm having, you know, it's almost, I don't know. I'm on hormone replacement, you know. I'll take all the side effects, you know. It's like the study that from the nurses' health study was flawed because they include women that had started after menopause, you know, several years after menopause. They had other risks. So hormone replacement therapy in low doses is not bad, but I've been taking them regularly. But I noticed that, you know, I've had a lot to do this week, doctor's visits, getting up early, and having the pain, irregular sleep. Um, so I had ALS clinic, which was all day. Hurry back. I had my baby sister moved back to Texas. Yay! She's away from Yellowstone. Yeah. Super volcano. All the animals left. New areas opened. It could happen, but I'd rather not have, you know, North Dakota. Current hostilities, you know, North Dakota used to have a large nuclear store. Now a lot of the silos are empty. Who knows where they put those things? Not in Texas. We have too many hurricanes. Um, hell, we don't even have, you know, a good grid in Texas. Yeah, we're just messed up. Robber barons are, you know, polluting and buying up, you know, precious areas. Stupid. It's just, so I have had that, but I've had lovely things. I got to see my 11-year-old nephew celebrate his 11th birthday. Saw my nephew, my oldest nephew from my sister that passed away's son. And he bought his first house. And he's moving. And I'll make dinner or have, you know, order dinner or have my husband make dinner. Just depends on the day of how I'm doing. For my oldest nephew, send him off, you know. So proud of him. So proud of him for changing his life for the better. You know, it takes a lot to not stay on the same road you're on, not stay in the same situation you're in if you're not happy, to actually make that change. I am so proud of him. I'm so proud of the person he has become. You know, it takes time to grow. He's 26, you know, frontal lobe is growing now. It changes, right? You know, just seeing my sister, you know, my little nieces that have seen Aunt Katie, have heard Aunt Katie, but don't know me that well. And I love my nieces and nephews. I have some that are biological, I have some that are by heart, but I love them deeply. And I love my children, I love my grandchildren. You know, love grows. It doesn't subtract, it grows, right? So, you know, then my nieces, my best friend's oldest, her daughter had her first birthday today. So drove out another birthday. You know, they both had the same day as birthday, and they both had celebrations a day apart. So that was lovely. My niece threw a huge party. So individual, so beautiful. Almost Kardashian style. No, she's one. They'll have great pictures, but, you know, I don't know. As always, you know, get a cute outfit, get pictures done. But, you know, have a splash party or have, you know, piñata. You know, it's like different kind of parties, you know. the different generations have their different styles. But it was lovely. It was really lovely. Got to see some Halloween decorations. My youngest was sick last week and was kind of house stirring, so she got to go to Target. Got a new LP, Weezer. So many classics are coming back. Everything's got an LP. One of the ska bands I like. You can buy the digital album or you can buy the LP and digital album. It's like, interesting. I like CDs, the coasters, outdated things, when cassettes were coming back. But, so just a bunch of happiness, You're doing well. You're C9. You guys die fast, but the Koya 302, it shows how well it's working. You're still alive. It's interesting when you get the neurologists. They're kind of like nephrologists. They're really smart, but they'll say some things off the cuff. I'm kind of, I speak medicalese. I'm used to it, but I'm sure that would upset people that are not medical. You should be dead. Yeah, I know I should be. Most of my family members were 18 months. I don't know why I'm still here. I'm still here. Must be a reason. Hopefully I'm still here until my youngest is 18 and, off to college. I don't want to have her lose, but I really like the kid she is. And I was having a hot flash today, which doesn't make sense. I'm taking the HRT, but, the spasticity has been worsening, waking up 3 times in pain, the sweats. I don't know if that's, about to have a spastic attack or something like that, could be related. I remember having the hot flashes and bad spasticity before. So we'll see how it goes. But I was happy, just kind of, picked up dinner and then, just kind of being on this happy thing. It's like, oh, things are good. I didn't go to see the Pixies. I sold my ticket because it was too much after the ALS clinic and the pool party and the heat. And I am a paper tiger. I think I'm strong, but I'm not. And heat gets to me bad. So I was like, no, have someone else enjoy that. I'm going to see 9 Inch Nails next week. And I've got a seat. I don't have to stand. So that will go well. Already got my parking. I'm all good. Gotta keep enjoying. Little bits you can. You gotta keep enjoying. You're still who you are, even if you have ALS. Now, I have my counselor's appointment tomorrow. I'm glad about that because we were coming out of where we were to eat, and there are about 50 people, asking to stop the war in Gaza. And that just cut me. 2 of my extended family, kids' birthdays. And knowing that kids are dying and being starved in Gaza and they're dying or potentially at risk of dying. People are dying in the Ukraine from the Russian invasion and the Israeli IDF invasion, because under their far-right government, I know that there are people in Israel that don't support this genocide, but it's a genocide. And kids should grow. Kids should not be starved. Even if kids are starved, if they go through a famine, they'll never grow the same way. They'll never grow up right. And people that were under genocide, doing it to others. Now, I understood when people in Gaza called for Hamas, and Hamas, wants, Israelis to die. How people cannot get along. It has been a war for the millennia, religious war. But children should be celebrated. Children shouldn't die. How can we hurt each other that way? I was talking to my daughter about it, and, we're talking about, people that support our current president and how people feel and, this and that. And then this huge amount of pain came up. And it kind of gave me realize, I've been procrastinating. I've been going through. I got a shock with the letter, with seeing what's going on, not paying attention to news. I read my news. I watch some things, you know, it's like in a country that, you know, how much news are you seeing and how much is real? There's deep fakes. You know, some people think that Trump is singing songs. Seeing pictures coming out of the White House that look like everyone looking up, dear leader. Ugh. It's so gross. It's just so gross. You know, we should have a system of balance and checks. And I don't blame people if they look at the United States as not being as trustworthy. We have a full-on Christian nationalist cult going on. You know, one of the leaders of it died. You know, some of that stuff with that evangelical stuff, there's been a lot of child abuse from it. You know, my mother went extreme evangelical. I know about that. Seeing some of the stuff that I was taught when I was little happening is scary as shit. Do you want to get to what's happening in Gaza here in the States? Well, we have Make America Healthy Again. We have anti-vaxxers going to be running the schedule for a vaccine, so sad. Okay, let's not get sad. There were 2 beautiful birthdays. My niece, oh my God, that girl should be an event planner. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Little girl that's 1 celebrated. My nephew that's 11 that likes the Houston Rockets. He likes basketball. I'm going to get that boy tickets. My nephew bought a house. He's changing his life for the positive. There's so much hope. My little nieces will see their big brother. My niece is coming back from Japan. Going to make some more money and go back. My sister's close. My ALS is still like this. You know, day by day with spasticity. But, you know, I mean, I'm still alive. I'm just going through it, you know. Got a little of my PTSD acting up and a little bit of survivor's guilt, you know, 6 years. You know, kind of hit me how many people aren't here that have ALS and I'm still here. You know, I shouldn't be like that. I shouldn't be like that. I have a husband. I have some good friends. I have 2 beautiful daughters. I have 2 beautiful granddaughters. Oh, are they gorgeous? Oh, I wish I could show you pictures. Oh, I'd have to blur their faces. But thank you all for watching this video. And I'll try to do some pictures at the very end. And show you a little bit of my vacation and showers and birthdays. Can't show too much, you know. There are good people out there, but there's some creepazoids out there. And I've mentioned a little too much about my advocacy here, and there are some nuts. Yeah. There's some people that, you know, activism shouldn't be extremism, but there's some extremism. You know, we all need to get away from that extremism that, you know, I will go, you know, choosing that. No. We don't need to do that. We can respect each other. You know, it's like, I'll never forget, we had a, going to testify. When the Ibaldi families were just disgusted, they were talking about 11 o'clock, 11 p.m. It's 11 p.m. You won't even hear me. And it's like, oh, well, welcome to being a gun violence survivor in Texas. I testified at, 2 in the morning? And then see, now some of these tricks are being done in Congress, U.S. Congress. They're trying to do things in the middle of the night. Nothing happens in the middle of the night that's good, I can tell you that. Not outside. I mean, inside their house might be, but nothing outside. Especially not in the halls of Congress, state, or federal. I mean, they're just one-trick ponies. I mean, seriously. One-trick ponies. too many tricks, greedy, grifty. I don't know. Good things will happen too, because there's balance, you know. There's, you know, there are many good things, and I hope that in struggle causes growth, and may there be growth in good. May there be less extremism and pulling and hatefulness, because hate only breeds darkness. Love will bring goodness. If you can love one another, as hard as that can be, just treat people with decency. It's the way you'd want to be treated. You know, fake empathy, toxic empathy. Oh, you can be what you can want to be. No, you can act compassionately. You know, it's like, you know, you don't. I mean, I live to help others. When I help others, that brick is taken off my back. Loving kindness. It's not like a personal, I hold on to you. You know, compassion is not like, oh, you know, I'll do everything for you. Compassion is to act compassionately towards you. Just as you want to be someone compassionate towards that. You know, you kind of, that's how I've lived. Maybe that's why I'm still living. But that's how I've lived, and that's how, you know, I was taught, you know. I leave a lot of the toxicity out, but that is something that's really helped. And I need to get deeper into my meditations. You know, I can fall deeply, but when I'm at these points that are unstable, you know, the prayer, the meditation, the yoga, as much as I can do. You know, I used to be able to do so much more. Now it's, you know, just simple moves. But hey, 6 years in, I can still do yoga. Now the sitting kind, the laying kind, not anything that, you know, some of the poses, you know, my warrior pose is not as perfect as it used to be in the different forms of warrior pose. I can still do cat and cow, child, you know, a lot of different ones I can still do. And the breathing, you know, the diaphragmatic breathing. If you have ALS, learn about diaphragmatic breathing. Yes, we don't have control of our diaphragms. That are controlled by motor neurons. So we may lose the control of our diaphragm. That can be at the point of death. That can be at the point of when you get intubated. And that's a event that you should look into of how you want to be, you want to approach. It's a deep one. You know, I guess, geez, I am going through it. Is it a full moon doing that? Is it seeing the Gaza things? You know, I feel. So, you know, it's like one of those things, seeing those people's faces and suffering. You know, it's like knowing that there's so much suffering out there. That's one thing. As a nurse, that was always my ick, seeing people in pain. Ooh, I hated that. And now people are like, oh no, Tylenol's great. Have that mommy makeover just on Tylenol. You know, the way I was treated, you know, like, oh, are you a drug seeker? And you know, the first one I was in pain clinic, you know, I had a procedure. I had to change appointments around because I was like, clinical trial. And those clinical trials will pull you up and pull you in anytime they want. You are getting clinical drugs, but you are a test subject. And then I had a female procedure, and they kept me comfortable. I was knocked out for a couple of days. I mean, I'm a sensitive soul. So the fact that I'm sensitive and I'm still hurting, and you know, things are, but they fired me because I couldn't keep their things. I had to reschedule so much. And you never know what they're writing on you. If they think you're saying you're in pain and you want something that works. You know, tramadol, which they're saying it's like opiate, that's a controlled substance, used to be just, you know, a prescription. You know, it wasn't kept in a lockbox. Wasn't something that was like that. Wasn't something we counted out. But now you have to. Suddenly drugs that were third, fourth line are that first line. The drug companies, I don't know how much they make on Suboxone. They'll rot your teeth and make you mush mouth, but you either like it or you either really like it or you hate it. Yeah, I ain't vomiting that much. And lidocaine, that, I always thought the lidocaine mixed with the steroid. And, I need the amount that would probably kill me. Cause cardiac arrhythmias to relax all my muscles. But you get 15 pills. You can have one every other day. It's for severe pain. The DEA is the pendulum is over too far. Just like politics. Too far. Not enough. Too far. Gotta be careful about the feels, because, I can feel real deep, but I have to realize I can't hold on to that. It's okay to acknowledge it, but not hold on to it. Because I can't control any of that. I mean, hell, I have a hard time just controlling myself. And I have no control over my muscles or my motor neurons. Yeah, no control. I wish I could just pop those little things in my back and it would just heal. And, we're going on about 3.5 weeks with my back stuff. So, but I have a beautiful new granddaughter. I got to spend 2.5 weeks with my oldest and my granddaughter, my 4.5-year-old granddaughter. And she's so cute and so smart and so sweet. I mean, you wish that everyone lived closer so you could have that daily interaction. But, oh my God, I was so lucky. And she picked out her Halloween outfit. And my daughter picked out my other grandbaby's Halloween outfit. So I get to get the Halloween outfits. Saw some different things I want to add to my thing. Talk to my mother-in-law. Sweet things. My husband's birthday's next month. And, oh my. I think I'll be glad to have this year over, even though some momentous, wonderful things happened. I got a new granddaughter. My daughter turned 13. I get to turn 51. My oldest childhood friend's turning 50. There were other good things this summer. And I have learned to stretch as a person, to grow, to allow myself to feel and not react. It's hard. It's hard. And I probably need to look into keeping my counseling going. And I'm one of those people that events happen, and it takes time for me to react emotionally. I don't know if it's a nursing thing. I don't know if it's a childhood thing. I don't know if it's that. But now I'm feeling a lot, and it's, some deep sadness. So, loss, seeing other people hurting, seeing things that shouldn't happen. It's like, as much as I'd say when you get ALS, how the life that you thought, expectations, what you thought would happen, wasn't going to happen. You never know when you're going to die. Nobody knows. I mean, it could be tomorrow. I could die of something that's not ALS. I live in the city of Houston. Have you heard about our traffic? Have you heard about our drivers? Have you heard about the gun violence in our driving? It's like you have to be careful about honking. People get nervous. As a nurse that's retired, hearing about what's going on with nursing, having advocated through the system for myself, thankfully I have a very, very, very good case manager that's a nurse that totally gets what I'm going at and has raised and has changed my life by doing it for comfort. I think being a Federalist, someone that believes the Constitution and in our 3 branches of government, and seeing what's going on in the United States is kind of scary. Living in a state where this has already been going on, I think we'll survive. Yeah. Better watch your, as a woman, you need to make sure you have all of your documents, birth certificates, social security cards, um, forms of ID. Um, take care of your health. You don't know your reproductive health. You're at risk here in Texas of dying. What happened to me with one of my pregnancies, I might have died, Wait until you get septic. 50% of people are septic die. I'm just thankful I'm here. I'm thankful I have 2 healthy daughters. My 13-year-old was talking to me and shared, and being gone for a little while, and there's that little bit of competitive. I'm the baby. My big sister doesn't that. Oh, my nieces. Oh, it's like, honey, it doesn't make a difference in love. I will always love you so much. You're my baby daughter. You have nieces, and those are my grandchildren. I will love them. Each love is different, but there's no subtraction of love. There's love. But just seeing who she is. She's a cool kid. She's hung out with me past 2 days going to birthday parties for younger kids. She showed up. She's a 13-year-old. She's in her iPad and, listening to music, drawing. She got her own button thing, so she's making her own buttons. Her one of the buttons I really like, she's like, she bought, was like, ask me about my lobotomy. She's got a sense of humor. And seeing her friends and just seeing, the innocence, it's like you want to protect them. You got to protect them, but you got to teach them how to protect themselves. And I don't know. It makes me sad, as a person that was particularly interested in infectious diseases, what's going on in CDC, what's happening, the changes in structure, seeing things that you always thought would work, not work, hurts. It hurts. Seeing people that are hurting about, that there's actually active genocides going on. Seeing that, a democracy is being attacked by a Z generation, North Korean adjacent former KGB megalomaniac, and we're being run by a grifter. That's all I can say. Underneath him is a Peter Thiel, dark enlightenment, scary person too. We'll get through it. I mean, we have before. You can fear, you can do that. You can't, I'm telling myself, and I'm recommending it. I need to use my recommendations and feel them inside. You can't always build the fear, because that's what they want you to. Bad things do happen, but good things do too. Nothing stays the same. I wish I could afford to live in Seattle. I wish I could afford to live in California. I can't move now. My baby sister moved back. Family means a lot to me. And as much as my brother-in-law, bless his heart, he has done so good for my sister's kids. And he's been the dad. My sister loved him. I was kind of like, me, overprotective sister, but I'm so glad who he is. I'm so proud of how he's taking care of the kids. But, living in Utah is not my, not where I want to live, but I'm going to go visit them in end of February, and I just gotta love on them. You just gotta love, love matters, So as I've always said, and I've mentioned a lot of sad things, and I'm sorry, guys. You can see why I didn't do a lot of videos. Procrastination and putting out as much as things are going on, the less you don't need everyone. Yeah, I'm still here. Yay. 6 years. Oh my God. There's one other guy that's in the thing. He's getting to the point where he's having a harder time talking, but he is a retired pastor. Bright, happy person. You know, resilience. Resilience is key. Letting yourself stretch, letting yourself cry, getting back up. Even if it's looking your eyes up, you know, even if it is, you know, you lose your speech, okay. There's other ways of communication. Speech is just one. You know, there's ways to work things through. You know, it just takes time, you know. Resilience. Yeah, it's all the bad things, and you get up, you know, and you wipe off and you step on. You process and you decide to go on. Resilience. But that gentleman was diagnosed, he's alive, in 2008. What's that? 15, 17 years with ALS. There's hope, right? Just depends on what type. And my type usually dies fast. I had the concussions early. Bad concussion. Post-concussion syndrome. I got better until I didn't. I noticed my ALS because I'm from a family of ALS, being a healthcare provider. I recognized it early. You know, I know that most people that are finally diagnosed take about 2 to 3 years until they finally get the diagnosis. You have family with ALS, you see it, you know it, you finally get the genetic thing. You know, my form of ALS is a 50% auto dominant. Kind of like Huntington's disease. You have a 50% chance of having the gene that you may or you may not. Whether it's the penetrance happens, you know, some people live and die without it getting anything. Some people get it younger, most people get it in their 50s to 60s. I happen to be in my early 40s. My daughter was 7 when I got diagnosed. She's now 13. She's still too young for me to live. She's still just at the beginning of the teen years. Like I told her, those hormones are going to happen. You're going to feel a lot. You just have to remember they're hormones. Remember to breathe. It's not the worst. Even if it's bad, it's going to get better. It can get bad again, but things do get better. Things change. Nothing stays the same. But by the time she's 19, think about how much you grow. I want to be there for her. As long as I can. I want to be there for her. And who knows where you go when you die, you know. I hope I can be near them, you know, when they need me, you know. Not as an earthbound spirit, not as a, who knows what heaven is? Who knows what the bardo is? Who knows what, you know. I don't think I want to go somewhere bad. I don't think I've lived like that. I don't know. We're about to get to the spooky season. So I don't know. I mean, this whole year, put up a TV with news, you know, a bunch of different screens from a bunch of different people. You know, it's like, oh my God. So you can probably tell what my persuasion is. Not that I talk about political parties because I don't join with anyone. But being up and seeing my daughters and my son-in-law, and all they watched was Fox local news. And, they were sued, and they said that they were just entertainment. They weren't news. And people, you say people don't trust the legacy news. And they're like, well, you shouldn't because this and that. It's like they're unfunding NPR and I don't know. You just gotta watch. You gotta see. Stay aware. Don't take it in totally. You know, I'm just a little bit, emotional. I haven't slept well. I've been in pain. About 3.5 weeks. It's been mostly controlled. It's been kind of bad. And I had a lot of happy birthday stuff. And I kind of got sucker punched. And it's probably some pain coming up, emotional. And it takes time for that to come out. And the Gaza stuff is just, put me in tears, It's just like, oh gosh. It's like, but there's so many sides on that. And I don't support terrorism, but I don't support genocide either. And, as much as we're talking about Gaza, we need to talk about the Ukraine and the independence of people that have been put under for centuries as well. Can we just stop it? Can we just, I have indigenous blood. There's been a war and it's been effective of a genocide of indigenous people. There's some of the blood that was survives in people that lived. Whether that, I don't believe, because there's love. I can track my relatives back, and there were marriages, and there were people that loved each other, and that's how I carry the blood. It's not rape, Ooh, I used the R word. I'm not monetized, so I don't have to worry about that. I don't have enough followers. But, there's love. And love lives on beneath the wave. So finding, you can't do anything that's inauthentic. And leaning into the resilience, finding where you can. It's like, finding the pieces of who you are and what matters to you. When you're on a surfboard with the symptoms of ALS, it's hard to find your center. But finding your center, and I need to keep finding my center, and, letting the emotions express in safe ways, and being happy. I have 2 grandchildren. Can you believe 2 grandchildren? It's so amazing. But I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. And thank you so much for watching this video. Remember, each day you can find beauty. It's there. Even in the hardest, ugliest days of physical, of emotional, of mental, there's something beautiful. A sweet message from someone you care about. A bird, a squirrel, the sound of music, the sound of a song, a good cup of coffee, tea. Find the beauty in each day. It's there. Thank you so much, and you guys take care. Bye.